except for the 6 o'clock.
Wait for the watch pot to boil.
I'm on my clock. All right. I have 6 o'clock, so we'll call the Charter Township of Long Lake Board of Trustees regular meeting to order for April 14th. We all rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Wagner.
Here.
Siebert.
Here.
Alderac.
Here.
Schaub.
Here.
Lemkool.
Here.
And Wheelock and Robinson are absent and excused.
All right. First public comment.
Any person shall be permitted to address this meeting of the Board of Trustees, which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following. Any person wishing to address the board shall state their name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer trustees' questions. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may extend the amount of time each person is allowed to speak. If a group wishes to address the board, the chairperson may require the group to designate a spokesperson. The town board does not respond to comments other than questions by the trustees or to make a necessary clarification. Silence or non-response from the board should not be interpreted as disinterest or disagreement by the board.
All right. First public comment. Whoever gets there first could turn that mic on. That would be great. I'll put the clock on the screen in front of you.
Don't start it yet.
I haven't.
All right, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Great. Good evening. My name's Amy Hartzog. I live at 4921 Kodiak Drive. I am just downhill from the Brook Valley development that has a stormwater basin directly uphill from my house, and it's full. It's disturbing. You know, we've had a lot of snow melt. We've had rain. We have more rain coming tonight, and then more on the weekend before we dip back into winter for a hot minute. And just a brief recap of kind of Brook Valley. They presented their permit to the Plan Commission as with the demolition plan that showed construction roads and basins that they were going to put in first. But because of the size of our township and the limited staff that are on hand, you can't be out at every site seeing what's happening. They clear-cut the whole property, created a major erosion issue, and nearly flooded my house. You know, we had water rushing at our home. This was 2022. So they remedied that through talking to the drain commissioner, the soil erosion, the township, and put in their basin. Their basin hasn't been tended to since then. And I've always thought, you know, okay, we watch the water, it goes up, it goes down. There's nobody that's living here. What happens when there's hard infrastructure, there are roofs, you know, that concerns me. Talking to Cody today, he at least made me feel a little bit better about that, because there will be, I'm told that everything on the road will drain to the back. But there's nothing in place for overseeing how a site like this that's dormant because it's waiting for water permission or whatever the reason is, it's dormant and it's waiting and nobody's taking care of it. So when dirt and sludge melts or runs off, it runs into that basin, it's muddied. I've reached out to all the same people to address this again, but I'm asking you to, we're a township, that's complex. I'm not really a fan. I mean, I live here and I'm living within these confines, and so we have to work together to figure out ordinances that can handle this kind of growth, because we're going to see it. And so I'm looking at a formal review of township ordinances that help with stormwater infrastructure maintenance, regardless of its active, but also if it's dormant. I also want an adoption of standards, so that developers are required to maintain those basins for us. And then a requirement that all basins include, some type of overflow. Overflow is really important to us, living downhill, and that's not in the plans that exist today. I know you're not the Plan Commission, but you're our trustees, and we voted you into office, and I hope that you hear what I'm having to say tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'm one storm away, just one storm away from, water coming at my home.
Kay Gallagher Ingraham, 5170 Jacks Trail. In reviewing your check register for March, a lot of money went out, which made a lot of sense on what you were spending. Could follow the checks in ACH. I still don't see the 940 tax payments for EFTPS, which you're probably doing bi-weekly. And I really feel that your report should have check sequence now that, since you're now having ACH and EFT, you should be able to read what was a check and have a check sequence, because you should make sure that all those check numbers are in sequence and accounted for. In the revenue and expenditure report, the only thing I didn't understand is why in the Township Board expenses, there's a miscellaneous expense of taxes, $447. So I didn't really understand
I'll
that.
answer that. Property taxes.
What, for the board?
Yeah, that's how that one falls under. It just happens that way.
Oh my God, okay, just happens, okay. On your treasurer's report, I think it would be very helpful if you could have a report for the earmarked funds, a separate report. Now, what I typed up. Tonight, you are prepared to sign away $350,000 of taxpayer money. Yet, as I stand here, the public has been given zero information on how much has been raised in donations or what the total expenses are to date. We are being asked to authorize a massive contract while the board keeps the ledger closed. This isn't just bad management, it's a total lack of transparency regarding the Twin Lakes deal. It is the height of hypocrisy. This board seems to only disapprove of panhandling when it happens on a street corner. When it happens in these chambers to patch a budget hole of your own making, you call it fundraising or grant writing. If this project were the asset we were promised, Supervisor Limco wouldn't be forced into a state of constant, desperate solicitation. Every month, the residents along Lake are paying out of pocket for upkeep on our 160-acre park we cannot afford, watching local services dwindle to subsidize the Tormadori project and constant repairs, flying blind on the true cost because you refuse to disclose the current balance of funds versus expenses. If you don't know or won't say how much money is in the pot, you have no business signing a contract for $350,000 or more. You are doubling down on a liability while shaking a tin cup for donations. I urge the board to vote no on this appropriation until full line item accounting is provided to the taxpayers.
Thank you. Any other comments? All right, hearing none, we'll go on to the consent calendar. Got it?
The purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be approved by one motion. Any member of the board may ask if any item on this consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. The consent calendar tonight consists of the Township Board meeting minutes of March 10th, 2026, the Treasurer's report for February 26th, the Planning report, Zoning report, Ordinance Enforcement Officer report, Parks Department report, and Executive Assistant report, all for March of 26. The Assessor's first quarter report, the check register for March of 26, the first quarter revenue and expense report for 26, the Emergency Service Station report for March of 26, the Grand Traverse County Sheriff's report for March of 26, as well as the Grand Traverse County Road Commission report, or board minutes for March of 26. It also includes the Charter Communications correspondence.
All right.
I'd make a motion to accept the consent calendar and approve as presented.
Support.
All right, we have a motion by Kevin, support by Kendra. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. Approve or amend the agenda. I do have two items. One is to remove the new business Long Lake Association for the Crescent Shores Boat Wash. They've determined they're not ready to bring it in front of us yet, with some things they're dealing with. And then Commissioner Morris is still out because of her surgery, so to remove those two items under, that one under special report, though.
Can I ask one more amendment?
Okay.
Under 10, I don't know if this was on purpose, I think it was just maybe an edit, a typo. Should that read new business, not just business?
Under what?
Item 10 just lists itself as business as opposed to new business.
Oh, yeah, should be new business, all right. Okay. All right,
I'll make a motion to accept the agenda as presented and modified with the three items that were just indicated.
okay.
The support.
Motion by Kevin, support by Dwayne. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, we'll go on to conflict of interest. Anything, conflict, anybody sitting here today? Hearing none, seeing none, we'll go on to special reports. Deputy McGurrian.
Hi, everybody. How are you? Bill, I hadn't got a chance to say hi to you yet. Hello, Bill. Okay, so 45 complaints since our last meeting. That's pretty low call volume, but pretty major complaints. High-value frauds, assaults, larcenies, all kinds of things. I think that the weather's getting a little bit better, and people are kind of acting up a little bit. One thing that I've had a lot of phone calls about that I want to touch on briefly is we did have a attempted home break-in last week on East Long Lake Road. It was an isolated incident. Luckily, the homeowner was not home, and the house was locked up, and the perpetrator was unable to get in and was apprehended attempting to break into the front door. So, again, isolated incident, but we can use it as kind of a learning point. Just because we live in Long Lake, which is a very safe township in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't make us safe from crime. So please remember to lock up your homes as well as your vehicles. Last year, around this time, we got quite a bit of people that had their cars broken into. I used the quotations because they were simply left unlocked. Please don't purposely make yourself a victim. Lock up the house, lock up the cars. The speed sign is out. The digital speed sign is currently on Secor Road due to the construction at Interlock, and that's going to be a heavily trafficked area. So things are going to get probably a little bit crazy here in Long Lake with traffic because of the construction going down south. Lastly, the fraud presentation that was scheduled for the spring. In talking with Ron, we think it would be better if we moved it to the summer so that we can kind of advertise it in the summer newsletter to get as many people here as possible. I think that's a great idea, so that will be moved to the summer. Any questions? Perfect. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
I actually would like to just make one quick comment,
Yes, sir.
thanking you for your service. When I got to witness you this past week,
In action.
in action, needing to put on your full gear to go into a serious situation, I
So,
appreciate.
luckily, that
what
one
you do.
turned out to be not as serious, but yes, you are very welcome. As a taxpayer myself, I think the community police officer is doing a great job. Great job. So, thank you, guys.
I
Appreciate
saw
it.
it in action, thank you.
Thank you, Sean. All right, so now we'll go into, we have no pending, so we'll go to new business. Grand Traverse County Road Commission brine agreement, which is what we do every year to get our gravel roads brined and less dusty. So we've been able to do it with one brine treatment every year, and then they do various touch-ups instead of two. So we're still, there's a budget for this of like $14,000, and then we've only spent $9,000, almost $95,000. So it goes up every year, but it's better stuff, supposedly.
Yeah, that was new last year, right?
2 years ago.
2 years ago, and so apparently that new material is working.
And then you can see on the map which areas they're doing, which is the brine locations, which is the blue, which is Fisher Road and Henheiser, Hemena Lake Road, Skyver Road, Cedar Lake Road, Harbor Drive, and Richardson.
Make a motion to authorize the supervisor and clerk, I see clerk's signature block is on here too, to
Yep.
enter into a improvement agreement between the Township and the Grand Traverse County Road Commission.
Support?
All right, motion by Dan, support by Kendra. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion passes. All right, next in front of you is Cornwell with Twin Lakes. Cornwell started with our first dorm renovation. Mark is here, which most of you know Mark. He helped with this renovation as well. But they started with us, and so this is the next continuation. So far, we've raised in the bank $36,000. But the donor who's donating the $100,000 said we should have that by June 1st. And then could be more from them, but they're just waiting to see where it's at. The other donation, we have a supplier house in town that has offered all the fixtures at a very significant discounted, and I don't want to lose that. That's why we're putting it in front of the board. And then we can use the rental fees, which have been about $100,000 a year, to help pay that back and continue to raise the fees. Some of the people that we raised money with or went after before asked if we got more money to come back and ask them again, and so which we're in the process of doing that as well. So Mark is here to answer any questions, and this puts it out there, some of the stuff that they're going to do, and we'll break it down into different phases to get to it, but the goal is to try and get something in, get their window of contractors in place. Go ahead, come on up. I'll let you go over this.
Ron,
Still on?
scroll down.
What? Oh, sorry. There you go. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Ron explained, we've gone through the first phase of the project, identifying how to renovate the bathrooms, add showers. This is the sort of continuation, second part of that work. Design development on the list. Construction documents are just that. We'll send out documents to bid and get contractors to price it. This does include engineering for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems for the renovation. That was with a company, Neelis Engineering, who is also a township resident, the owner of the firm. And then it also includes time during construction for us to be on site, making sure things are being done according to the plans and specifications, answering questions from the contractors as they come up. It involves, the project scope involves both men's and women's restrooms on either side of the center common area within the lodge, I suppose, in the dorms. There is a question that we have to answer. It's included in the effort we've outlined here, and that is the potential for fire separation between the center assembly area and the residential wings on either side. We're not sure that the original building had that fire separation. We'll try to confirm that during the design development phase. There may need to be some selective demolition, but we'll coordinate that with the township and try to make it as minimal as possible. Anything? Yes?
That minor demolition is to determine if it's a firewall currently?
We try to determine if it's constructed as a fire separation today. If we can get above the ceilings, that'll help. We may need to verify how many layers of drywall are on the walls, that kind of thing.
And if it's not, then it would be relatively substantial to bring that
If it
into
were a brand-new
compliance?
building, it would require that fire separation. There's a possibility if we use the rehabilitation code that we can get an exception for that. We likely will include it as an option in the construction documents and see what the cost is to do that. It would be a good idea if it's not there now, it would be a good idea to put it in place.
Okay.
Anything else? Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. questions?
Just actually for you, what part of the budget, do we have money budgeted for this already in?
No, it would come out of fund balance.
Fund balance?
Yep, so anything comes out of fund balance, the goal would be to pay it back with those donations
Gotcha.
as we continue to get
So
those.
this would be included along with the actual construction costs?
Correct.
You're saying?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, because the money that we collected last year would go to help pay for this.
Okay.
Okay.
And so from the math you gave us, Ron, we're somewhere 50 to 60,000.
Yeah, what do you think would you remember what those fixtures were? Yeah, do you remember what he put in there?
Mike, if you force me to answer right now, I think the non-discounted value was 70, and I think you were getting it for 50% off.
Right.
That's a
Right.
guess right now, memory.
Yes, that leaves the gap
We're about
well under 50,000.
200,000 is what we're gapped, but then if you take the gap of the
The 100 and the
fixtures,
100.
yep.
Okay, sure. So
So it brings it down.
and so the gap that we're looking for additional funding through fees,
I would say about 200, just
200.
under 200.
okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And again, we're still raising funds. Now we're coming into the time where people are asking again
Sure.
to reach out to them, so.
And that 200, we do bring in about 100 a year in
Correct.
fees currently.
Right,
And
which is-
clearly, once we have completion, we'll
Right.
be able to do quite a bit
We
more.
budgeted $100,000 this year for
Mhm.
work to be done at Twin Lakes based on $100,000 of revenue from the tower rental and the rentals.
Gotcha.
And so that's where the painting's coming from. You know, we got some playground equipment the matting under that needs to be done, which we received a $10,000 grant for, that type of stuff.
Okay. So a number, in terms of what we would still need to raise through fees, additional fees going forward, or through donations?
So he's guessing approximate 325
Mhm.
is for this construction,
Okay.
so. We'll start the meeting all over now. So you're about, what, 175, 160?
Yeah, I was just trying to see. I guess I'm not, can we do the numbers real quick? So 325 total.
Okay.
We've got 100 we're committed to come in by June 1st,
And you got about 36,000 already raised.
36,000 raised, and then 100 coming in fees. I've got the June one already covered. So that's 236. That leaves us 100. And included in that is a discount of about 35,000. So now we're 100 less 35, so we're around 65,000 looking to
Correct.
pull out of the general fund permanently or find a way to offset that yet. So, but,
Yep.
yeah, that seems like a reasonable number, actually, if that's the gap we're looking at.
Right.
And then the other question I had is in our last meeting, we've talked about, and I see we have here, we don't have a second bid comparing to Cornwall, because Cornwall's already part of this project carrying in.
Correct.
Going forward, we're looking to have additionals if we're doing something new, but just for the community, we don't have a second to compare to Cornwall today, because Cornwall is a continuation of the project.
Correct.
So, just clarifying that.
Right.
I would make a motion to approve the Cornwall architect proposal for architectural services for interior renovation of existing Twin Lakes dormitory restrooms as presented.
Support.
All right, we have motion by Kevin, support by Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, next we'll go on to the Resolution 426.5 Charter Renewal Negotiations. So we currently receive money from Charter Communications for right-of-way, and that's what we can use that, that's what helps pay our brining and stuff like that.
Right.
So right now, that's coming to an end. So East Bay, the city, have all gone through and started this together, so we're bringing it all together. We have passed resolutions that we all want to be part of this, and that's what this is. So that we can work together with the city and all the townships.
I would make a motion to pass Resolution 4-26-5, resolution authorizing participation in joint representation agreement for Charter Township franchise renewal negotiations as presented.
I'll support.
Second.
All right. Motion by Kevin. I think I heard Kendra first.
Yes.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. You need roll call. Roll call, sorry.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Seaver,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Wagner,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes. All right. Next we'll go on to, last year when we approved the painting for Gilbert, I thought we approved the painting for the other ancillary buildings, which were the Olson Cabin, detached garage, which is right by the entry, the pavilion by the water, and the pavilion by the dorm, which is the one we took the trailer out from underneath. But we didn't, after I reviewed those. In front of you also, you have the quote from Fortified Coatings, and then you have a spreadsheet that shows the difference. So Fortified Coatings would have come in at $36,108. Dan Brady Painting come in at $31,900. Brady did also give two quotes for the two garages that are out further back, but I think those need some more work before we paint them. So they can happen another time.
So they're in rough shape.
They're in rough shape. They need a lot of siding repaired if that's what happens to them.
Or demolition, right?
Yeah, or demolition. So the third painter never quoted, but this also the only other one the quote was for the siding, which we chose to paint and replace the siding on the dorm.
And I see there was a requirement in here for colors to be chosen ahead of time. Is that all going to
Same-
match what we're doing?
Same color code.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Other than the cabin. The cabin will do all the wood, log wood, and they'll fix all that, so.
Good. I guess I assumed that, but thanks for clarifying.
Yes,
Yeah.
that'll stay the
It's
same.
much better that way. Yeah, I walked some of that property this past week, and due to be painted for sure, so.
Yeah.
I make the motion, we go ahead with the proposal that was presented by Dan Brady for the amount posted, $9,300. Well, the total of $31,900.
There you go. Perfect.
All right. And we're not doing the 9,300 portion,
Nope.
just for clarification.
Those are future if they determine.
Perfect.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Dwayne, second by Kevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, we'll go down to, since summer's coming, docks are going to go in soon, since the ice is off. We have our quote from Grand Traverse County Sheriff Department for supplemental law enforcement for the help at the boat launch. And they go between the two launches. So that's what this is for, so. And then you also have the dates that they'll cover of the hourly rate. So, again, most of that is all over at overtime when they're down there, so. And Sean kind of takes care of them, makes sure that they know what they're doing.
two questions I had on the schedule for the deputy overtime. First, and I've not been down there to see, but some of the information talks about that it may go through Labor Day. Labor Day is actually September 7th. Are we looking to include Labor Day Monday? And there's probably, I would imagine, a lot of activity with even just people owners on the lake tend to get boats out for those.
When was Labor Day? September?
September 7th.
Oh, okay.
So
We'll have to look at that.
It's this only,
I can just work that day. I
Yeah.
can change my schedule around to work that.
Because he's over there.
I like the way that works. All right, perfect. So, and then there's different dates that are not included here, various weekends. That was on some by choice, or is that when you're going to cover the ones?
Exactly,
There we go.
exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, because he's on and stuff like that.
Okay.
The hard part when he tries to cover those as well as the holidays, that's always a difficult part.
Yeah, so like I'm on 4th of July weekend, but I obviously can't be patrolling and at the parking lot, so that's why we included that as well.
But on the weekends he's working, he can be there and in and out, so.
Perfect. That explains it. Thank you very much.
I'll make a motion to approve the Grand Traverse County Sheriff Supplemental Law Enforcement Services.
I'll second.
All right, motion by Kendra, support by Kevin. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, now we're getting into a big one. So, US DOT SS 4A grant agreement. So this is something that we started talking about, I think, 2 years ago, and that we were given the grant. It's $2.4 million with a cost share of $600,000, which is in kind, for a total of $3 million to study safety in Long Lake Township and provide safety for EMS providers and firefighters to and from accident scenes, provide, if I miss anything, Chris, and provide the study for like, how do we communicate when people are at accident scenes with information about the patients, instead of trying to, most of the time they're on accident, they're trying to get patient information. But if there's a way to communicate directly from the state or directly from Munson to our crews, it's how do we implement that? So this grant was given to 5 communities in Michigan, if I remember correctly. And so that's what it's here for, is to help study that. So the goal is to work with different communities. It's talking about how do we get blood. There's an accident, and there's a group in town that's looking at trying to, join us with this, but they deliver blood to accident scenes. Or to different areas that, if there's a scene, an accident, instead of like flying a helicopter out there, they fly a drone and drop blood right to the scene and stuff like that. So I'm gonna let Chris speak on some of this, since Chris was instrumental in some of.
This was spurred several years ago. My family was involved in a very serious crash here in Long Lake Township that involved a rolled over vehicle and entrapment and subsequent extrication that I was first on scene on. Additionally, one of my sons was transferred via helicopter down to DeVos and Grand Rapids for treatment. So as you think about that, in my almost 40 years in the fire service responding to calls like that, I see it from one side, except when you're also part of it, opens your eyes a little bit. So the government has noticed statistically that highway serious injuries and fatalities are increasing every year, despite the fact that we have better cars and airbags and crash mitigation systems. The numbers still increase. So there's a push by the DOT and NHTSA, the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, to reduce that. And they have grant money for planning and demonstration grants to try things that will hopefully reduce or mitigate injuries to not only people in cars, but responders. So got my attention. So we applied for that, and as Ron mentioned, we looked at a variety of different things. Be it from the initial response, there are systems that we could deploy that notify vehicles that emergency vehicles are approaching them so they can move out of the way. That could also be used to set up signs in some of our high-traffic pedestrian areas that I'm coming through, running emergent, to maybe stop those pedestrians from going across the street while we transit that area. And then on scene, things to improve responder safety. Could be looking at our lighting systems. We all show up, we have different LED and halogen lighting systems between fire and EMS and law. How can we synchronize those so that as you're driving up, it's a little more uniform? Because as people look at this hazard of lights, they tend to miss that there's someone walking in the area. Somebody that...
And with that, so, like the state police, you see state police troopers on the scene, their lights totally sync. And so that's the difference when you start looking at different things, it's the flashing and...
So if we're out on 72 and we need to shut down lanes, we can improve some responder safety. And as Ron mentioned, getting blood to the scene, that's starting to occur in areas of the country where we're delivering blood to trauma victims right on scene. And that can be via drone to get it there quickly and assess the situation. So that's coming along. And then for a lot of calls we're at, and based on firsthand knowledge, we ask a lot of questions. What is the medical history? What are the allergies? What are the meds that people take? And it takes being firsthand asking those questions that, like, wow, this is tough in the heat of the moment when things are happening to remember all that information. So there are some health registry networks around the country and in the state that we could utilize that information if we could try and get that information that already exists in a particular database out to our responders. On scene, whether it's a car crash or medical emergency, we spend a fair amount of time obtaining that information. If we had access to that, that frees up a responder to do additional items. So a lot of different things. It's a planning and demo grant, meaning that the government wants you to go out and try things. So kind of taking my private work experience as a product manager and deploying products throughout the fire industry, how do we bring things to market and get them deployed really quickly to show whether they're effective or not? And the government is looking at this and saying, go out, try things, don't build roads with it, but try systems that will impact safety of motorists, impaired drivers, identifying that, safety of responders. So we'll look to do that. If they like what they see, there's a further grant that can be upwards of 10 times that amount to deploy those systems on a permanent basis. So Ron, does that?
Yeah, and even the whole goal is how do we reduce and help the vulnerable population? And part of it was like, is there a way to create a community paramedicine where our paramedics are going to homes and helping out and taking care of, so someone have to drive to a doctor. So it's just trying to go to home and do some of the same work that a doctor would do. And it keeps a lot of that population off the road. So those are some options that are talked about in this as well, so. So the other, you have a question?
Well, the big question, where do we come up with the 600 grand for the match?
So the 600 grand is through in-kind. So today, you approve today, and our meeting can be used as some of that grant. We meet with, there's a group that's called Lucid Tech, did I say it right? Lucid
Beyond Lucid.
Beyond Lucid. So they are instrumental helping, but, just different meetings when you can use that money. People can give in-kind. Part of their bill could go towards that. So it's not like we have to take it out of our pocket. The intent is not to take any money out of our pocket other than our staff's time that we do with that, so.
The DOT recognizes that communities won't have that level of funding, but again, looking at salaries and using staff resources and overhead towards that. And again, to Ron's point, other groups might be really interested in that. Could be the Road Commission, as we look at different signage and different systems to activate those signs, look at funding that they could deploy towards that.
They could use their engineer staff time for that. And the Road Commission is supporting this, so they will be getting us a letter of support for that as well. So, because some of the work is within the roadway, so they're a part of it as well. So,
What happens if we don't provide the required deliverables?
Yeah, this is a demonstration grant. So the deliverable is the plan and deploying the plan. And they're very specific about not having anything terribly permanent. They want it to be able to be disassembled quickly if it didn't work. It's the idea of trying to spur the idea of trying things. And that's where the government is looking. They say, we keep seeing these injuries and fatalities keep increasing. What are we going to do to try and mitigate that? So this is funding for us to go out and give it our best shot.
And it's a percentage of, it's a percentage of what that grant is. So if we end up, let's say we only spend $200,000, the percentage of that is that, if we don't spend all this money. It doesn't say, look, here's $2.4 million, now go spend it. It's, you bill them as you process through that, and you document what we are going through that process with. And that's where, like, Beyond Lucid helps out with some of that stuff, and then also Sarah, as part of what she will do, is to help out learning that stuff as well and tracking that.
So will we be getting like monthly updates on the progress of this? Or I'm just
Yep. So if, in that second page of that, we have to develop the action plan, so those are types of things that we have to do. It's in your packets up on the screen. So we have to develop the action plan to include the following components, and then we have our supplemental, and then our demonstration. Those are the things we have to do with this grant.
We're not obligated to use all the money, and it's there. But the government has allocated $1 billion towards this. They're real serious about trying to reduce injuries and fatalities.
Pretty slow at figuring out the paperwork too, but.
Well, we started this, over 2 years ago, and it took time with funding, the government shutting down and that sort, so kind of beyond that.
Yeah, because this comes from 24, if I
July.
remember correctly. Yes.
Is it okay if I touch on something? Is that all right? Am I allowed to do that?
You can.
Okay, thank you. Just from personal experience, just the other day, I was just driving, I was off duty. Metro has some of these systems implemented. So when I was at the light at South Airport 31, I got a green light. All of a sudden, my car starts beeping at me, and it's telling me there's an emergency vehicle nearby. So I stop, and an ambulance goes through the intersection. So I would not have seen that ambulance, or likely heard that ambulance with everything going on if it wasn't for that system going off. Now, last year we had a horrible crash at 72 and Gray involving a Suttons Bay ambulance going through that intersection, a vehicle not yielding to that, and it caused the back of the ambulance to literally shear off of the truck itself and roll into a ditch. I'm wondering if systems like this, if implemented properly, could have avoided that happening.
It's, my own experience with my brother in law enforcement, running an emergence, stopped in an intersection, starting to proceed through, and another car sees, someone stopped, I'll just go around them, flips his car over. So it can be really serious. So there's technology out there that we can start to deploy and start to measure that and see if it results in something the government's interested in and deploying on a nationwide basis.
Right. And this, our study area is Grand Traverse County, Long Lake Township, Leonard County, and Benzie. And so it's just pulling the people. I know, that's support with Grand Traverse County, and so it's slowly working with the other counties and trying to put this, because, that's the whole implementation, is like dealing with Grand Traverse County 911 to say, look, here's the tool. When you dispatch, it has to go out on the networks on the radios, and then that way they're using it. And then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, we pull that tool out. But if it works, then it becomes all this region-wide that we can do all that with.
So if I'm understanding right, this 2.4 is being shared across all those government bodies, or this is?
It's shared with us, but we can pull them within that study area.
Okay. But have they already agreed and are willing to participate, or we don't know any of that yet for the county?
Because we really haven't, we didn't really find out till we just got this. This grant was ready, they wanted it on last Monday.
A week later, we waited.
We negotiated with them to say, look, we don't have a board meeting till the 14th to get it. I know we had a special meeting on Friday, but there was not even enough time to get that done to get it in front of everybody.
And so And this is federal money, because this is national.
This is federal.
NTSB. So I guess I'm finding it kind of interesting that it's a large sum of money for little Long Lake Township to try to drive some pretty significant initiatives that, almost to make it effective, we would have to work with agencies around us, government agencies around us, to make it make sense, it seems to me. And then, so I guess I'd really want to make sure that the others are participating. What happens if we don't get that participation? Are we on the hook for anything because we've accepted it? If we say, you know what, I mean, I know we're also short-staffed, so we're saying staff would be a lot of what we do, but I think we've been short-staffed down here.
Well, there's even money in there to hire staffing and then maintain staffing with technology education background.
Exactly. I think, to Kevin, to your point, that the government is looking, in fact, of the 5 nationwide, they really liked what we proposed. They liked the ideas, and they liked that we could bring some expertise to that, and some working knowledge. They actually used, the DOT had a nationwide webinar to try and encourage other communities to try this, and they featured us in that. They were that pleased with it. So I think they want us to get moving. And it's a real opportunity. There isn't too often it comes along in private business. If you deploy a product, there's capital involved and there's risk, and there is here as well. But it's difficult sometimes to spur the private sector to go out and try things without a return on investment, right? I've had products that I've launched that if they didn't work, my boss had some pretty tough words, so we look at that experience that we're going to use and run with this if we can to deploy some of these ideas that we have. Some are novel, some are straightforward.
I don't normally do this, but since I let Sean speak, I'll let you speak.
Sorry.
You start.
I ruined the whole thing.
Okay. So when you're saying that you don't receive the funds till you ask for them, if you're going to buy a drone or pay these wages to these employees, will the township have to upfront the money and then you ask the government for the money back?
It's an invoiced basis with the in-kind, so they pay
Right,
in their 30 to 45 days.
Yep, they pay within 30 to 45 days.
What happens?
So, but you wouldn't purchase the drone until you got the money?
That we would allocate that, we would
So,
invoice them for
Yeah,
that.
our goal is not to purchase drones. The drones are already there, and there's systems already in this town to do delivery blood. It's already being done, and they're working through a process how to get it better. So,
All right, but then you're saying you could hire new employees, and that. Aren't you upfronting the money?
yes,
To pay them and train them? And then you're going to wait 45 days to get.
correct. Those are part of the study, yes.
So you're never going to get money upfront,
No, you can't bill the federal government for money that you haven't spent yet.
because it's not coming in.
Right. Yep. Okay.
But at
So
each,
you have to watch your cash flow.
Correct.
and on each of these activities, clearly we would be having upfront approval. So if we're going to hire somebody,
Correct.
they've already approved what we're doing, so it's just, we'll pay upfront 45 days. We're not going to do it and then say, oh, wait, we're not going to cover that.
Yeah,
It
and those
would all be a
items-
pre-approved activity, whether it's whatever. It won't be drones, but if it's a new sign or some flashing lights or whatever it might be, we would get approval that this is what we're doing, and then we would
Yeah.
make payment and they will reimburse us.
Yeah, and the
Okay.
approvals would also come through this board.
That's right.
Sure.
So as part of the plan is here's our plan, here's how we're going to implement it, and then here's the task that we're going to do that as well.
Okay, so
But
each
it's also
activity-
going, it's like going out and saying, okay, Long Lake, we want this type of lights. Benzie, we want you to have this type of light for these people that are coming to this area. These are types of things. They can upfront the cost, and then we can reimburse it.
Yeah, and so I guess as I'm envisioning that, then, so we're going to be doing collaboration, which would be fantastic with those agencies around us, but that collaboration time is coming out of staff that we already are paying and it's there, but it also is the billable that we can come back and match with.
Correct.
At that point, and that's really what we're going to have out of pocket is.
And this
that
is
kind
over
of
3
activity.
years.
Sure. I
This
see that.
isn't happening, and it could take up to 5 years. The plan is for 5 years, but the goal is to get it accomplished in the 3 years.
It looks like they give us till 2029, so.
Right. And their thought is, they're going to evaluate that and go, that's great, deploy it
Keep going,
regionally.
yeah.
Here's X number of dollars to make it happen.
Sure.
So we run the experiment, yield results. Do they like it? Then they fund it. If they don't, take it down, and we try it.
Sure. Yeah.
Unique opportunity.
All on our time and our schedule, our plan, effectively pairing up with it. Quite an honor.
Yeah. And this is one that I think it was Gary Peters was really pushing through to get this one through. That was part of his plan as well, so. And I know he's got a new one coming out already, so.
Now there's another round.
Couple of questions. You said that 5 of these were made statewide?
Nationwide. There were 5.
But there were 5 in Michigan, weren't there?
But there were of our, they had 5 different, but they were spread nationwide.
Will there be collaboration with those other entities? I mean, would this be like a kind of a community effort? Hey, we're thinking about the, well, we were going to do this. Oh, we went to this, we'll do that.
Great question. The DOT would like, and they encourage partnering with other entities. Could be Blair next to us, but it could be an entity across the state that wants to also access health information for first responders. So the DOT set out and said it's really good to have partners to go along with this. So that's where we'll look to other entities. Could be the sheriff's department.
And some of our calls that we had were with the various entities that received it with the federal government. So everybody was already talking through that process.
And I think kind of we've seen this, funds that have been authorized be walked back, with both the state and federal government here, even within the last year. I mean, so I'm just looking at our exposure and, like worst case scenarios here. Let's say we get $250,000 into this and turns out that we're not going to get reimbursed, or we can check some box, or we didn't provide the right delivery, I mean, where does that money come from?
Yeah. So it would come out of our pocket. But, this is not the first time this grant's gone out, and that they've been through these processes with different areas already. And that's where this Beyond Lucid has worked with different people to help process those. In fact, they're on our grant application.
Exactly. And also, to your point, Dan, this has crossed administrations in the government. So it's gone through both parties, and both, see the need. So I think we're looking at the full faith of the U.S. government. And I think part of this, we would step in and make sure the process works. We get the payments are timely as we progress through the years with it.
So I'm just trying to understand who's going to, really administer the day-to-day for this. I mean, you have a very demanding full-time job, and then you have a very demanding part-time job with us, and, very demanding schedule outside of work. Sarah doesn't have this expertise. I'm just trying to understand who's really going to, we have a 2-year performance window here to work through this. Is this Beyond Lucid? I mean, are they going to kind of take that?
Exactly.
lead role?
We would bring in some consulting as well.
And who's going to oversee their work to make sure that they're headed in the right direction?
Yeah, so we've talked to Beyond Lucid, we've talked to Traverse Connect, which have a lot of expertise in grant management, as well as Michigan Networks Northwest. So we're trying to work through that process. We couldn't do a lot until we approved everything, but they're all part of it. Even like 20 Fathoms is working through the process. So, because they have a lot of that technology there. So it's just trying to put this together and then work with these other community groups to get that done and lock in people who are going to be in charge of it. That's where, Beyond Lucid's, they've got a lot of that expertise in it. But it depends on, do we want to spend our money out in California? Do we want to spend our money locally, and how that works?
you also have a very demanding job. And this is pretty involved.
Yeah, I think it's looking at what can we do to bring more safety to our community. You just look at this road here, there's 9,000 cars go up and down this road every day. There's 10,000 currently going up and down South Long Lake Road on a daily. We just saw those all come from the road commission. We have 3 pinch points on just North Long Lake Road, Gilbert, the store, and Moomers in the store. You know, what can we do to make those pinch points? And our apparatus go up and down these roads every day, at least 2 runs a day on an average. And so what can we do to make it safer through there? And that's part of why this grant is there, is trying to figure out what can we do to make it better and more efficient for our staff. But what can it be, what can it look out through the whole community as we try to push things more regional, and you know, a lot of it is just getting people like, you know, Grand Traverse County have grant writers, you know, what's it take to get them more involved? But we have to approve it first and continue moving forward to have those meetings. We could have all kinds of meetings before, but none of them count towards the 600,000 match. So once it's approved, everything counts going forward. It's a big ask, but I think it's a big return on benefit for our community.
I guess I like the concept, I like the potential. I mean, it's a neat thing to have so much opportunity to be on the front edge in Long Lake Township, Traverse City, Michigan, but it does seem like a pretty big ask for us to be taking on and doing, and while we're running apparatus up and down here twice a day, and we got the pinch points, that certainly things we want to look at, but it almost seems to me our size and scope and our resources of people that would have to manage work with it, I imagine Network Northwest isn't going to do that for free, and I doubt any of those organizations that are going to come in, so there's going to be fees for all of those things. It just seems like an awful lot that we're going to take on. I don't know if we have the resources and ability and time to take on what it would require to even execute it right, you know, for the NHTSA, or are we even going to deliver for them what they need? I question that, and then question our risk if anything changes in the funding. And if we're already short-staffed down the street, I don't know how we have the ability to take it on and do it correctly for ourselves or for the government.
I think some of that we need to look, as Ron said, to outsource a little bit for folks that, in community groups that are involved, and how can they assist, and what funding do they have that they can put towards the in-kind match, and then deploy those resources. And there would be management on our part, no doubt about it, determining what we're going to tackle first, when we're going to it, getting that done. So the government wants to see that plan and then see it deployed and evaluated. I think we need to look to some outside resources, and Ron's already started that with some community groups. But to Ron's point, you apply for a grant, you wait for a while for something to happen, it happens, and then, all right, now let's get started.
Again, I mean, it seems like it'd be more than a full-time job as I think about what it's going to entail. So just out of curiosity, and they say that you could use funds to hire somebody. You could hire somebody to do that?
You can hire staff to take care of that, to deploy it.
Out of the funds?
That's right.
That's written right in it.
That's right. That was written right in, because knowing when we went into it, we don't have 86 people to deploy. So that was part of the initial grant application. Make sure we can fund that as necessary.
Yes, we would have to spend the money first, and then, if we hired somebody to focus on those things, and whether it's IT or whatever, and work through that, or outsource it, we hire the employee or hire a contractor,
Which those positions could be, you're going to look for somebody pretty high skill, but maybe only 2 to 5 years of a position by the time you hire them before the program ends, is what we'd be attempting to try to do then too, right?
Correct.
Which means
And some of it could be where you continue on with it if you get the additional funding. Because that way the systems are still implemented. If the ones that are working, then the goal is to implement those systems and keep them going.
And these funds would be used to help keep that going, is that the vision, or this is simply for the exploration portion?
The study portion is this one, and then once, if they feel that those positions and those things are implemented and they're good and they're working and they could use them in other places, then those grants come in to pay for those costs, which could be, it says up to 10 times this amount.
Okay.
I know it's a scary thing, I mean, in trying to look at where that money comes from and how it gets spent. And that's why it's like pulling in people like, that have the expertise like Traverse Connect. That's what their job regionally is, to put that together and pull those people in. It's to pull Grand Traverse County and Leelanau and Munson and get those people involved with this to work through it. And our plan is to say, look, here's what we want to do, and then start implementing that study with other people around us. Because we're all fighting the same thing.
Right. So I guess I just find it interesting that they chose us with the resources, and not that we don't have talent here, but when you think nationally, the talent and resources that some communities have versus, the resources that we don't have, well, not that we don't have the talent, but the resources, just seems like a pretty big ask and a pretty big risk that we're taking on for me in terms of what risk reward. I mean, the rewards that we might get versus the risks that we're going to take for ourselves and for, to me, if you're going to take on a grant like this and execute it, you better be able to deliver too. I mean, we're taking on a responsibility, not just a gift. I mean, we got to, there's going to be an expectation in return that would have to have every intention of being able to deliver in return for what we're doing. And I guess I just question if we have the ability to truly do that, being short-staffed as we are. Not that we don't have the talent, but short-staffed. I don't know what staff Traverse Connect has, but I don't know if Trevor has people around that can roll out and help with this.
Warren.
Oh, Warren's Traverse. Okay, yeah, so Warren, well, maybe Warren has.
Yeah, so that's some of the stuff that they're going through, because like I said, they have people that do grant writing, they have the people that do grant follow-up. Grand Traverse County has all that, so to me, it's pulling all of them involved and saying, okay, this is your focus.
So how is the township board and the community going to be apprised of the progress of this activity?
The plan would be to have a plan every month to give an update on it, and then where we're at with tracking, what money's been spent, and if there's any money being spent, it has to come in front of the board if we're going to spend money on stuff.
So we're going to have like a standing agenda item under special reports for this or something? I'm just spitballing. I realize we just got the notification for the money and,
Yep.
maybe everybody that applied got an award. I don't know. I've worked a lot with grants throughout my career, and nothing comes for free. I'm here to tell you, so, there's a lot of work here, and you already do a lot of work.
Yeah, I think we leverage that and coordinate with these other groups to deploy that. But it's going to be, it's a large amount of work. There's no doubt about it. It's a large amount of work, so. But we've administered grants before from the federal government, state, local folks. This isn't our first time doing a grant by any means. Unique opportunity, but a lot of work.
I'll make a motion to approve the U.S. Department of Transportation grant agreement under the fiscal year 2024 Safe Streets and Roads for All grant program.
All right, we have a motion?
I'll actually support that.
All right, a
It's
motion
a
by
great idea.
Kendra, support by Dwayne. Any further discussion?
Just so I can be on the, I like the concept, the idea. I think it's a unique opportunity. I just have a hard time thinking that we're in a position to be able to take it on ourselves and actually deliver correctly for for the government. So it's, yeah, I just don't think we're staffed and in position to be able to take on more in this arena is the reason I would not be in support. I just wanted to be able to state that, I guess. So.
Well, I think the main thing is that it's not just us. You know, I think we need to use the community around us that's meant to be a community grant in the study area. That's why it says Grand Traverse, Leelanau, and Benzie. And so I think it's bringing the expertise that are in our area to bring that in and use that. And I think that's, you know, I share the concern with time and staffing, but that's why we bring those expertise in and use them to help offset our time as well. And we use them as part of that 600,000, the 20% that goes towards that, you know, the in-kind expertise as well. That's the only reason it's in front of you. There's no way that if this was just 2.4 million come to Long Lake Township and we had to do all that, we'd be crazy. I don't even think Chris would have brought it, but I think that there's technology there that's not in Grand Traverse County and northern Michigan that we need to bring here. And, you know, you look at, you know, think about it. You're in a car accident and you and your spouse are unconscious and the kids are in the back and they've got severe allergies and they can't speak about it. So if the technology is there to give that information to the paramedics or medics or firefighters on scene, you could have just saved a life.
Yeah, I certainly see the value, and it has to be tested, and somewhere, somebody has to do this work and see what works, see what doesn't work. It just seems, for me, that our township, our staffing, we just seem like too small of an entity and not even fully staffed to take on such a big, you know, why isn't this then at the county level, or why isn't this at the, you know, a regional level? It seems like in terms of our township being responsible to be the point to manage, drive, deliver, and coordinate with all others, it just seems like a very, very big ask. In my experience of trying to coordinate amongst different entities, it is a big project. And my experience is in business. I think it's harder in government, honestly, in terms of being able to execute. And maybe I'm just focusing too much on the responsibility of executing and our ability to do that people-wise.
I mean, I have a lot of concerns, but I also have a great deal of faith that, you know, staff. I mean, maybe I'm failing to recall it, but I think I'm in my 5th 4-year term now. I can't think of a single time that, once they put their minds to it, staff, and particularly our emergency services group, and particularly Chris, has not been able to deliver some pretty Herculean tasks that we've thrown at them. I'm very obviously concerned by some of my comments about our exposure, about how this is going to go, about how the information is going to be communicated, how we're going to keep this on track. But sounds like at least initially our exposure is pretty limited. So I'm, you know, I always say it to try and treat everybody like an adult until they give me a reason not to, and you know, I don't have that reason, so I'm optimistically, you know, ready to move forward. We obviously authorized the application to even go in, so you know, I think you got your work cut out for you though. So we'll see how this goes.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. All right, we'll go on to delinquent property tax. So I'll hand this over to Kendra on this one. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark. Every 6 years, or going back 6 years, we are eligible to request a write-off unpaid personal property taxes that haven't been collected. The treasurers in Grand Traverse County got together, and they do this, the last time they did this was 2018. They do this maybe every 8 years or so, and we all agree to share the costs and to authorize us to petition to the circuit court to write off these from our tax rolls of 2019 and 2020. And as you can see in Exhibit A, there's roughly 37 properties. 15 of them are personal properties, basically home businesses that did not fill out the Form 576 to exempt them from taxes, and they have since either moved out of the township or gone out of business. And the ones that have completed the form now don't owe any taxes. It's simple. Angela sends them the form every single year. If they don't fill it out, they get a tax bill. If they fill it out, they're exempt for the next 6 years. So basically, it's a paperwork issue. And then for the 20-some mobile homes, any of them ranging from $4 to $35, we haven't been able to collect since 2019. So this way, it just takes it off our tax rolls, and we stop sending them the paper, the tax bill, the postage, the envelope, all of the money that we're spending to try to get $5, which some of these are write-off, our over-under for taxes is $5. So I would ask that you approve the petition to send to the circuit court with the other treasurers of Grand Traverse County.
The one big one I have a question on
Speaking of grants,
is that in Fastos, if I'm not sure if that's pronounced,
In Fastos?
of the base tax 2020 number of 16,000 that we're writing off, it looks like there's 90% of it's coming from that one. And I looked up, apparently they've filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy, so
Yeah,
they're gone.
we dealt with them for a long time. We spent a lot of time back and forth, and it's an office supply place, if I remember correctly. Is that what it was? Yeah, and fast, it was something like that.
They're
So,
doing some building.
Yeah.
But in any case, yeah.
So, yeah, they've been out of business for a while. They've just been sitting there, and
Yeah, there's probably, I mean, my only question is, just in terms of understanding the process, that when I looked it up, we would have an opportunity to have put a lien at that point in time? Did we do any of that?
I don't think there was even a chance to do a lien. I mean, it was before me.
Okay, yeah. So I guess it's so much history, we're not going to know what or why. I'm just curious.
No, there was
if
some
there's a way to-
bankruptcy.
Just because it's such a large sum that
Yeah,
we're,
there was some bankruptcy back and forth, but there was nothing to go after,
okay,
so.
all right. Yeah, I didn't know how the process worked, and I mean, typically, taxes are one of the first things that does get pulled out of the bankruptcy, that the taxing government agency gets reimbursed first before it even goes to, sometimes those that are first in line, just that we didn't get that, so.
Right.
But again, at this stage, I don't think there's anything you can do about it, just be curious going forward.
Yeah. Well, staying on top of it.
Right, I think that's probably what it is, back at the time, had we done something, we might have been able to have gotten first in line, but at this point, there's no line to get in, so.
Right.
Okay. I would make a motion to request a write-off unpaid personal property taxes for years 2019 to 2020 as presented from our treasurer.
I'll support that.
Motion by Kevin, support by Dan. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, motion passes. All right, we'll go on to our second public comments. As long as it's not on the same thing.
But you guys brought up new information. Kate Gallagher, Ingraham, 5170 Jacks Trail. At first, I thought you guys were talking about 600,000. I thought you were going to agree to spend $1 million today. So glad not to hear that. But with this grant, I was wondering, I think you could easily find a retired person that could kind of head it up and get all these, groups together and oversee it. I also wonder if you could have like a committee of residents, people from the board, people from the staff, and that they report to the committee comes back and reports to the board. That's just what was going through my head. Now, on the fundraising for the dormitory, you had hoped to get donations of $350,000. When you were doing the budgets, you were already told that Supervisor Limcool was going to spend the $100,000 on expenses, $100,000 that was coming in on rentals, on all the expenses, other expenses like the painting and that at Twin Lakes Park. So I see that money is already being spent. I was told by Supervisor Limcool in December that you were going to get $100,000 from the Olsons Foundation and $100,000 from the Zimmerman Foundation. But he's telling you you're only getting $100,000 right now. So you're very short. So you're talking a project of $350,000 plus the $100,000 that's going to be fixtures. And you've agreed to it. You have no idea what it's going to cost for, what do you say, a firewall or something, whatever he has to look into. So you know there'll be added expenses. So I think you just signed a blank check.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Hearing none, we have no budget status. Any Board of Trustee comments?
Yes, I would like to thank the Long Lake Fire Department for saving what they could of the field that was crossed on Harvest East. They did a great job. They responded very quickly. My son, I was not at home, my son was. They're just across the way from us. And if that field, the direction the wind was blowing, it's possible it could have been over our way and destroyed up to 3 other homes. So I think they did an outstanding job and fantastic. Hats off to all of you, everybody involved. And it was, like I said, it was a quick response, less than 5 minutes they were there and burned over, I think, about 4 acres of grass and potentially 2 high-tension posts that were on fire. I could see burning from my house. Again, thank you. I can't thank you enough.
And if I can make one additional comment on that grant, I just want to say, despite my vote, I'm proud of you and the team for getting that grant, and I absolutely wish you the very best making all that work and come together, but we should all be proud of having received the grant, so.
Give a little, planning commission meeting since our last regular board meeting. We had a pretty robust discussion, I would say, a pretty productive discussion about a conditional land use application that was submitted. We tabled that application after quite a few, I think, good, meaningful questions were raised, and the developer and the applicant, I should say, and staff are going to continue some discussions there. I'm not sure where that stands today, but just want to mention that. So.
Okay.
It's pretty much the only item on the agenda that month.
Perfect. Anything else? All right, I have a couple. We met with Traverse City Area Public Library. They're looking at putting a pickup and drop-off on the back of our township office, back by the AED. So they'll fill that and put stuff in there for people. The AED is up and running. It's back there. So if anything happens in our park this summer, it does calls a couple people when they open it up, and it takes their picture. So if you just want to have fun back there, you're going to get your picture taken and probably talked to about it.
You want to see one of us?
Yeah, so that's back there, and we also have the it's not narco, is it with
Narcan.
It's back there as well. That's that little white cabinet that's back there.
This is behind this building?
Yep, right on the back wall. So where the sidewalk goes up, which used to go to the old stairs, that's all sitting back there. So, and it is on camera, so we can see what's going on back there. So that's happening there. The brush truck should be pretty much ready to go by Friday or Monday. The radio may not be in it, but they all carry radios with them, so they can have that. So it's pretty close to being done. I don't have a picture with me, but if you go to Epicenter Graphics, Epicenter Graphics online, you'll see what it looks like. Come out pretty nice. So, but it's all being upfitted right now, so it should be ready to roll. So, all right. If there's nothing further, we'll adjourn at 7:19.